Creative friends, this is Joy. So I have these die cuts that I went through and selected these images, and then I went through a journal where I stamped a bunch of my images into and decided to cut out a little saying to go on this art journal page that I am creating. And this is my new Dinah Wakely Delusions art journal page. So the image I selected, I just cut out into a square and then rounded the corners and to use on this art journal page. And then I went around the edges of it with black stays on ink pad, as you see me doing here. And this saying says, believe in your dreams. So I thought that was really neat saying to add to this page. So I took a Sharpie marker and then just a stencil I had and decided I wanted to put a border around this whole page. So I used this stencil to trace a border around the page. And so I figured, well, I would go around the border and trace the stencil, and then I will come back and color it in later. So that's what I'm doing here. So I decided I wanted a circle on each corner. So I moved the stencil down to put a circle at the bottom corner and then work up to meet in the middle with the other the other ones that I drew on here. So here I'm trying to figure out the top. It doesn't quite, go across the top evenly. So I decided that I needed to start from the other end so that I have that circle in the corner and then work towards the middle. So I'm adding like, three or four, of the dashes, and then I'm turning it around and adding three or four more, and then I, will kind of just slide it over and figure out where the middle is between those and match them up. So that way, it's somewhat in the middle. It's not an exact science, but it's close enough. And then I do the same down the side. So I go down the other side with the circles and the dashes, and then I move to the bottom to make a circle in the bottom corner and then work my way up so that I, meet in the middle of this page. But I got the got a little off, but yeah, it's fine. It's not perfectly the same with the other side, but it's fine. So then I'm going across the bottom and doing the same on the bottom as I did on the top, just trying to get that middle circle in the middle. So sorry that it's off camera. I didn't realize that I was off camera. So now I decided to add my images to the page. I could have done more with the background, but I really wanted to keep it simple and, because there's so much going on in these images, so I just decided to keep the background just, as it is. And decided to use my Craft Bond glue stick to adhere these images to the page. But then when I tried to stick the one image down, I noticed it wasn't sticking to this craft paper as well as I would like it to, so I had to add some of that glue to the page to try to get a better adhesion. So I did the same with adhering the other images down as well. I tried to add some of that to the craft paper to try to get the images to stick better. So here I'm trying to wipe off any excess glue. I got a little bit of excess around the edges, and I was like thinking that hopefully that won't be like a resist and when I go to color my image. So I was trying to wipe off as much of that as I could. And so here I'm putting down the other images that I want to add to this page. And so I'm just gluing that really well and then adding some of the glue to the page itself to make sure that I have a good, you know, bond there. And I'm just kind of holding them down for a minute just to try to get the images to, stick better. So then once I'm finished that, I have these Arteza markers that I just got, and so I decided to use those to color the images in. And I want to use a green color to match like the background. And so first of all, I start out with this blue that I really liked and wanted to add to my image. And so I'm going through and coloring everything that has circles on it. So everything that has a circle, I'm coloring with this blue marker. And so there's some things in her headpiece that have circles. So I'm coloring those blue, her shirt sleeve, and then her pants. And I'm also gonna use the same blue in the bird for his wing and his feathers. So that way, both images have the same colors in them, and they, somewhat match each other. And that way they'll go together better. So I'm coloring the wing, and I'm using like the fine tip and the broad tip of this marker to help color in the images more quickly. So I'm just going through doing that, and then I get the little feathers on the top of his head. I thought, it should be blue. Then I was going to use the same marker around the border, but it didn't really, it just kind of covered it up. So then I got a paint marker. This is a fine tip paint marker, and I thought this would work better. I probably would have liked to have used a little bit lighter blue, but this craft is causing it to look darker than it really is. So then I got a green that matches my background and decided to add that to my images. So I first off add that to the headpiece and to her shirt and her shoes. And then I wanted to add a little bit on, to the birds. I did his little stockings or whatever with the green, his little legs. And then I was looking for a yellow to use. I kind of wanted a bright yellow, so I got the one that looked kind of like the brightest to me, but the marker, like when you go to use it, doesn't really match the cap, so I need to swatch these out, and I haven't done that yet because this wasn't as bright a yellow as I would have liked, but it worked out fine. So I used that on her headpiece and her shirt, and then I use it on the bird. So, I basically am trying to use each color around the images, so that way they all have a little bit of each of the colors that I decide to use on this page. And then I missed a little bit of the blue areas and the green areas, so I'm just going back in to fix that, because I saw some other areas that needed to be colored. And then I was going to do yellow in between, but the yellow was not showing up, so I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. I'll have to decide, something else to do. And then I got this tan for her skin, and I don't know if it's really a good skin tone, but it's good enough, I figured. So I added that to her face and her arms. And then I missed, her little feet, but I ended up going back and getting her feet here in a minute. You'll see me go back in and get her feet. And then I decided to add some of that to the birds. I added it to his shoes. And then colored his little beak orange. Put some of that orange in her headdress. So again, the two images have some of the same colors. Added some red lips. Put some of that into her headdress. And as you can see, I'm getting like little smaller and smaller areas of color that I'm adding to this image. And here's where I realized I forgot her feet, but I'm like, which one did I use for her skin tone? So yeah, had to go back and do that. And then I did her eyelashes with the black. So I'm coloring the black with or her eyelashes with the black marker. And yeah, I um, really like the way that this turned out. Like I said, I could have done more to the background, but I didn't. And then I was like, what am I going to do with this, little saying? So I decided to add some of those colors to it, the blue to the butterfly, the green to the butterflies, and then fill in the bodies with black. And then I didn't want to leave it just white, so I was like, So I decided to add some of the yellow, but then I decided it would probably look better if I just colored the whole thing yellow, but I wanted to leave that little bit of a white border around the edge of this because my images have that little bit of a white border, so I figured I'd leave a little bit of a white border so that would kind of match, somewhat the images. And I used again, the fine tip to get around the details and the smaller areas, and then I'll use the broader tip to fill in the bigger areas. So that's what I'm doing here, just trying to get around the butterflies and then using the big tip to fill in the rest of it. But, I was like, well, that looks good, but, I think it needs this black line because the images, again, have the white border, but they also have a black line. So I added that around the edges, the edge of that. And then I decided that I'm just going to do the pole border in just this blue. I wanted to do blue in a different color, like yellow or something, but I decided to go ahead and just do it all blue. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just going around the whole border. So I'm getting close to finishing this page, and I decided to do her eye because I didn't want to just leave it white, go around the eye with the yellow. So I decided to do that and then finish up on the border. And that's pretty much the page that I've created. I hope you guys like it, and if you do, you can give me a thumbs up. You can also subscribe to my channel to see more, or you can leave a message. I'd love to hear from you. I really appreciate all the support that I get from, everyone watching my videos because, it helps keep me motivated and going. And plus, I want to, motivate others to continue their creative process and being creative. I'm not, doing, something creative every day. I would like to, but, I don't have that luxury at this point in time in my life. One of these days I will hopefully get to that point, but I do enjoy the time that I do get to create, and I just really enjoy it and have a lot of fun. And this was definitely fun to do, to create this page. And this journal really makes it so easy and quick to do these quick pages. So I wanted to connect her next, so I'm doing that. So thank you guys for stopping by and watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye bye.